Hello and welcome to Guider Talks, and today I'm absolutely delighted to have with me Matt Wolach. Hello Matt, how are you?
Hey Robert, doing great. How are you?
Great. This is going to be one of those really interesting sessions because Matt from Ringbot is going to talk about, it's a great title, how to close 75% of your sales calls. And right now, I was just saying to Matt before we hit the record button, right now everyone's saying quick wins. How do we do it? What can we do? How can we get more sales? What do we need to do? And I suspect that lots of those sales are right there underneath your fingertips already, but we just don't know it. So without further ado, Matt, welcome. Who are you? What do you do? Tell us all.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Really appreciate you having me here. So as you mentioned, I am the CEO of Ringbot. Ringbot is a tool that agencies use that helps them get better results for their clients. What it does, it's an SMS marketing tool. You can install it on your clients' websites. So if you let's imagine you're an SEO agency owner and you've done a great job of driving traffic to the client's website, but their website and the client, they're terrible at converting that traffic. And we all have felt this pain. I am sure if you're out there, there's people nodding their head like, oh God, that sucks. So what this does, this tool has a little widget that goes on the website and it pops up. And instead of those annoying chat widgets with a bot that doesn't really answer your questions, this is texting and it's live. So they can actually send in a message. You'll get it on your computer or on your phone. And you can reply back to the person. What we found is that most of the people who aren't converting have a question or something that is unresolved that they're not able to figure out from the website and the copy. And so they just want to get that question answered, and yet they don't. So they leave and they go try and find it somewhere else. This captures them so you can answer their questions, communicate with your potential buyers right away, and get done. Our members, they're absolutely loving it because it's giving them more results for their clients, so the clients stick around longer, they eventually pay more, and our agencies are growing like crazy. It's awesome.
And where are the agencies you work with? Is it purely stateside or is it around the world? What's the geographical spread?
Primarily North America and Europe, so that's where everybody is.
Right. Okay. Well, we're primarily Northern Europe and some America. So let's go. So I guess it's a wonderful tease. Close 75% of your sales calls. I mean, do you have the kind of a benchmark about typically what sort of percentage of sales calls most agencies do close?
Yeah, most agencies are closing around 20%, meaning 1 out of 5 clients that you get on with. Now, somebody out there might be like, well, I'm better than that. I'm 35, 40. Okay, I'm looking at an average because there's some people who are closing 5 or 10%, which is scary. And by the way, if you're closing less than 20%, we've done some studies on this, you're closing less than 20%, it gets very hard to survive, to make it, because you're just not getting results for all the effort you're putting into your business to try and get new clients. So we need to make sure our close rate is as high as possible so we can focus on taking care of the clients. We can focus on concerted efforts to get the best clients on board.
So when you say sales calls, I'm just trying to get my head around this. Do you actually mean sales calls picking up the phone, or do you include Zoom and Google Meet and all the other bits and bobs we use?
I do include, meetings like on Zoom or Google Meet, any video calls, anything like that. In fact, I highly recommend it. If you are doing sales calls, if you're doing the call where you're going to explain all the stuff about what your agency does and how you help, please do it on Zoom. Everybody knows that the best way to communicate and to sell is face-to-face. But in this world, and the way we've got everything set up now, we can't always get face-to-face. You can't fly from England down to Italy just for a 30-minute conversation. So we have to get face-to-face. And the next best thing is jump on Zoom, jump on Google Meet, and they'll be able to look in your eye and they'll be able to trust you so much better when they can see you. So don't use your cell phone, just get on a Zoom call.
I mean, I find it amazing how people say, yeah, but we wrote an email. It's like, yeah, did you put a Loom video in the email? Why would I want to do that? Because they can see who you are, they can see that you've got grey hair, they can see you always wear a pink shirt, they can see, or they can see, in your case, the flags, which means you've probably travelled to those places, or my previous call, the kid, they can. Why would you not put a Loom call into an email? I just don't get why people don't do that, and why would you send an email saying, have you now considered whether you wish to purchase? When you can just, at the press of a button say, here's my link, book in a call, let's have a conversation. I mean, why do you think agency people avoid doing that?
Well, I think there's I think a lot of people feel like they don't want to intrude too much. I have people who have told me, well, I'm a gentleman, so I don't want to do too much. They don't want to, get in the way of their buyer's day, so to speak. But actually, if we have a great service, right, if we're going to take care of them and help them grow, then by not doing what needs to happen for them to sign up, we're not helping them and we're not
Absolutely.
getting them in the right spot. So we have to do those things that some people aren't willing to do. The other thing is it separates you because everybody's just emailing, like you said, Robert. If you're the one who's calling or sending that Loom video or, hey, look at me, that's different. And they're going to say, wow, this Robert guy, like, I love him. By the way, the flags in the background, those are my clients. I do coaching on the side, mostly for software companies because I run so many software companies. And that's where my clients are located around the world.
What's the missing one in the bottom right-hand corner? What's the one we're going to try and find for you?
You know what is weird? I have every Nordic country except Norway. And I've talked with lots of people in Norway. And there's some great people up in Norway. But I don't know why nobody from Norway has ever done.
So if there's anyone from Norway listening, this is the guy you need to be talking to. So we have a complete square, so our pointy heads can relax and go, okay, it's fine, it's a square. It actually fits. Okay, let's get back to it. So, really interesting. Lots of agencies, by your experience, don't actually pick up the phone. They don't actually make contact. Is it any wonder they don't close the sale? Is there also something about timeliness and speed of response? I mean, can you be too quick in responding, or someone said to me yesterday, "Oh, we like to give proposals to people after about 7 days because we believe, not fact, just an opinion, we believe that if you give a proposal too quickly, it shows it's just a template and people won't take you seriously." Now, my pushback was straight away, is there any evidence to support that feeling? Because I suspect that if you wait 5 or 7 days to hand over a proposal, the guys and gals that handed over a proposal on day 3, they've already had the conversation, they've closed the business, and you're gone. So I just wondered what you knew about timeliness of response.
Yes, so I am in your shoes, and I hope everybody's listening to Robert because you are obviously a leader in this space and understand this. But a lot of people think if we are too fast, and this goes not just for after the call, like when you follow up after the call, but also when you first get a lead. Let's say somebody goes to your website, they're like, oh, this looks interesting, maybe they'll help me, and they fill out the form. A lot of people are like, well, if I respond right away, it'll look like I'm not busy and I don't have a lot going on, so that looks dumb. So I'm going to wait a few days, and then they'll realize I'm busy and important. And actually, the opposite is true. If you can respond right away, you have a much higher likelihood of closing the deal. So a lot of people say, okay, we'll respond within 24 hours. That's kind of a standard thing. But actually, it's funny because I did that too. And then once we realized, oh no, well, we need to be faster. And there's a whole concept here called speed to lead. Speed to lead. And it's been scientifically proven. They've done studies on it. And one of the things that we did was we said, okay, well, let's try and do it within 2 hours. And we saw about a 200% jump in connections when we went from 24 hours to 2 hours. But then we said, well, let's see if we can get better. And we went from 2 hours to 1 hour, and we got even better on the connections. Then we went from 1 hour to 10 minutes. And Drift has done a study, and they said if you can get your speed to lead response, meaning if somebody submits a lead on the site and you can respond, going from 10 minutes to 5 minutes is a 400% increase in connections. And that's just 10 minutes to 5 minutes. 10 minutes already feels lightning fast. And so the moral of the story is the faster you can get, the more likely you are to connect, but also the studies show the more likely you are to convert the deal and actually get the client. In fact, one study came out and said 71% of the companies who called first win the deal. So the first one is there. Early bird gets the worm. Do not think about, oh, I'm going to wait, make it look like I'm really busy or I'm cool or I'm putting something together. No, get on it fast. They need help. If they're willing, think about it. If they're willing to fill out a form, that means they have some sort of pain or some sort of emotion that they need solved right now. Let's get it solved. Let's get it to them and take care of it.
So that stat was 71% in 70 sales in 71% of cases go to the first responder.
Exactly.
And that makes sense, because it's a bit like Marcus Sheridan. They ask, you answer. It's like you're defining the conversation. You're defining the price point. You're defining what good looks like. So you straight away have that advantage. Otherwise, you're number 3, you're number 4. You're being compared with the others. So
exactly. The other thing about it is, if you can do that, and a lot of times people don't realize that the big differentiator between agencies, a lot of people think, oh, because we do this and we have this cool tool that helps us do this and we solve this and we're really good and the results are awesome. Guess what? From the outside, you all look the same. And I know this because I've gone searching for this or that or whatever. And a lot of my clients who are members of Ringbot say, hey, well, we can't really differentiate. We don't know how to differentiate, even though we're good at this or good at that. I'm like, from the outside, everybody says they do great SEO. Everybody says that they have awesome search marketing and they're fantastic. The problem is we don't know how to differentiate. And the differentiation comes from process. So when you start the interaction, how you handle them, that's the differentiator. So if somebody goes out and submits 3 bids or 3 leads to an SEO agency or a few SEO agencies, 2 of them like wait a few hours and then send them an email. Hey, thanks so much. We're excited to help you. Here's what we do. A big long list. And one of them says, hey, I just want to chat with you. I just want to make sure that you even need this. This might not even be the right thing, but I want to talk with you, understand where you are, what your goals are, what you're trying to solve for, and really what you're looking to accomplish. And once we get in there, maybe I'll make a recommendation. It could be us, could be something else, but I want to get you taken care of. Whoa, like that's a different, okay, so 2 of them just gave me a stock email. One's like really wanting to dive into my business and help me. That feels super consultative. This feels like somebody I want to work with. That's the differentiator, the process.
And how do you make that? So thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. I'm not arguing with any of it. I'm just trying to get into it a little bit more. How do you stop that I want to lean in and understand you consultative piece? How do you stop that sounding like the stock answer? In other words, is this thing about authenticity or about it being a genuine lean in interest, as opposed to I've got a spreadsheet here, I've got 20 questions I need to answer. So because I think you're right. It's like, oh, you're interested in me rather than just interested in. It's not the hammer. If you're a hammer, everyone's a nail. It's not that. You're saying, how can you help? So I'm just wondering how you make that sound like it's a genuine lean in as opposed to just a script.
Well, I think there's 2 things to it. 1, how do you make it sound like it? And 2, how do you actually feel it? So first of all, one of the key things when you're selling is we only want to sell to the clients who are actually going to be good clients for us. So you must have something called an ICP. I hope a lot of you out there understand what that is. An ICP is an ideal client profile. It's basically a whole list of different things that you feel like are the best fit clients for you. Geography, size, what tools they're using, what they're trying to accomplish, those types of things. There's a whole bunch of stuff. And when you figure that out, now you know these are the best clients for us. We can get them the best results. They're going to love us. They're going to stay a long time. They're going to pay us the most, those sort of things. Once you figure that out, now it is in your best interest to weed out all the others and to find out who's not that. And because if you spend too much time on somebody who's not a fit for you, two bad things could happen. One, let's say, okay, you're like, well, they're not a fit, but I want to sell them because I want the revenue. And this is very common. We want the revenue, right? But we want to try and squeeze a square peg into a round hole. So we try to sell. One of 2 bad things or both will happen. 1, they never sign up, but you keep trying. And so you keep calling them and you keep following up and maybe you have a call here or there. And they're like, yeah, but I just don't see. And you do all this time and all this effort and they never sign up. So you just wasted all that time and effort and they realized it's not a fit. Or 2, they actually do sign up, which is probably worse because if they're not a fit, then you're not going to be able to get them the results that you should be getting them. And then they're going to think you're terrible and they're going to go tell their friends and tell the internet that you're terrible at what you do. When in reality, you're not terrible. It's just not the right fit. And so you hurt your business and your company and the reputation of your company because you tried the wrong thing.
So what we're, in some senses, what we're building up is a picture of the all the things that if you do it, just take 10% away from your potential revenue, maybe more. So loads of agencies I know don't have, a customer avatar or an ICP. If it moves, they try and tackle it down and drag it in. And it's like a fishing analogy. They pull in the fish onto the boat, and then the fish is flapping around, and they don't know what to do with it. And
Exactly.
I, for sure, in my past, I'd be absolutely honest with you, there are what I call, pardon my political incorrectness, but what I call like the poison dwarves, the clients who've been absolutely hell on earth to work with, and even when you give them back the money and say, please go away, here's someone else to work with, they say, no, we want to work with you. And you go, no, you don't understand. And that's always been when we've been greedy, and it's always been when it's been beyond our tech stack or our skill set, and we've gone, yeah, I'm sure we can Google how to do that. I'm sure we can get away with it. And every time it's come to bite us, and every time it's been far worse. And it's not just the client stops, but actually the problems ricochet right the way through our organisation, and you start to question, your own validity. So there's that going on, and then there's not picking up the phone, and then of course there's not giving people proposals on time, and then there's not listening to clients, and then there's this thing about which drives me mad is because I'm a hammer, you must be a nail. Well, actually, why don't you just find out what I want rather than insist on selling me stuff that I may or may not want? So there's a whole catalogue of disasters. Let's just flip this round flipping it round the other way. Have you got some processes or some systems or ways that we can help the audience actually get on track and do better?
I do. So we talked about how can we close a huge number of our sales calls. So there's a couple facets to that. One is make sure you're talking to the right ICP, the right perfect client avatar, the perfect people who are going to work great for you. So that's step one. That way you can weed out the bad ones. The more ones that are better for you are more likely to close more often. So step two is have a process. And we have a call process that walks you through exactly how to run your sales calls. And it's a 4-step process that we call the perfect deal process, DEAL. And that DEAL stands for something, each of those letters. And it makes it really easy to kind of follow along with the process once you understand each of these letters. So we can go through that. I can actually walk you through it. It makes it really easy to run sales calls. So the D is for discover. Discover means you have to learn all about your prospect. You have to understand what makes them tick, what keeps them up at night, what worries them, what challenges are they facing right now that are potentially business threatening. You really need to dive in. And when we talk about discover, most people think of, hey, I just need to find fit. Okay, you told me, Matt, that I have to find the right ICP. Well, I'm just going to ask them a couple questions. And what most people do when they're selling for their agency is, oh, okay, I heard that they have the right thing. Great, let's move on. They're a fit, check. But actually, there's 4 reasons we do discovery, not just to find fit. Finding fit is certainly one of them. But there's 3 other reasons that most people skip, and it causes them to not create enough emotion within the process, and so people don't take action. Within your sales, you have got to have emotion in the buyer's head. They've got to feel something if they're going to take action. And if they don't, they're not going to move. So with discovery, we need to do 3 things. This is my 3 steps to pain. And you've got to get and uncover that pain and make sure they feel the pain in order for you to actually win a deal. There's 3 steps to it. Step number 1 is you need to identify the correct pain. And so with this, when I train this with my clients, I have what's called a knife analogy, Matt's knife analogy. And it's some people might think it's gruesome. I'm sorry, but there's a knife analogy. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, Robert, my shoulder hurts, most people will say, okay, their shoulder hurts. Let me solve that thing. But the problem is you might be a little bit smarter than those other people. And you say, well, yeah, it looks like the shoulder doesn't look good, but I see a knife in your belly. And that knife in your belly looks really bad. Like, we need to solve that. And so in the seller's head, they say, okay, the shoulder's one thing. I see the knife, but maybe they don't care about the knife. Let's just solve the shoulder. And they try and tell them about how they're going to fix that shoulder. Well, the problem is, if that's not really that major of a problem, then the buyer may not ever buy and take action. And so step number 2 is we need to get the buyer to identify the real problem. And by the way, a lot of people are like, well, how do I do that? Well, guess what? If you have all these conversations with your market, if you're deeply talking with people within your industry and the people that are buying from you all the time, you're going to start to realize the good and the bad and what actually is happening and all the different things that you can solve. You'll see that. And so you'll identify it just because of your experience. And so step 2 is you have to get them to identify it. Hey, I see that shoulder. You're right. It doesn't look great, but man, that knife in your gut, that looks really bad. Like, have you guys looked at this and what are you planning around that? And a lot of times they won't even realize that it's a problem. A lot of times they don't even realize that that's something that needs to be solved. Oh, yeah, well, we just have Mary take care of that when that happens, and she does this and that, and that's fine. See, a lot of people don't fix it because they see it as work, and work is work. It's supposed to be hard. So people don't realize that that's something that should be solved. But you as an expert should understand, oh, yeah, we could solve that really easily. So after step 2, that's a good step to get to. It's not the end. And what happens is most people will pull the knife out at that point. Oh, I'll be your hero. I'm going to show you how we're going to solve all that. It's great. And you pull the knife out. Don't do that. The reason you don't do that is because if you pull the knife out at that stage, the buyer never got to that full pain emotion. They never realized how bad of a problem it is. They never thought, okay, this is something I absolutely have to solve right now. They're like, oh, yeah, it's kind of annoying. And kind of annoying doesn't get them to take action and buy your service. So don't pull the knife out. Instead, what we need to do is get to step 3, which only 3% of sellers are doing. Only 3% of people actually do step 3, which is instead of pulling the knife out, we twist the knife. And we have to make sure that they feel the pain. Now, a lot of people are like, Matt, you're terrible. This is why people hate salespeople, because you're trying to hurt them. No. We are not hurting them. First of all, it's just an analogy. There's no real knife. Second of all, if they never feel enough pain, they're never going to take action. They're never going to do anything about that. And so we need to make sure they understand what the real pain is and how bad it's hurting them. And so something might be, okay, well, that's a problem. Let's dive into this. Let's figure this out. So how long does Mary spend on that? Okay, she spends 2 hours a day on this. Whoa, 2 hours a day. Okay, wow. And you're paying Mary how much? Okay, 40 quid a year, 40K quid. Oh, whoa. So if that's the problem, so you're paying this, calculate. You're spending 10 G's a year on just this little thing. Is that what you're telling me? And now they're like, whoa, I never realized that. So that's something we could actually remove. Yes, you could. Okay. Now we've got them realizing how bad the problem is. And that was a problem that was always there. We didn't create it. We're just uncovering their eyes to it. And I give an analogy that, again, is maybe I'm just a dark person, Robert. I don't know. But I call it my alcoholics analogy. I know, yeah. I call it my alcoholics analogy. My clients are always like, okay, I get it, but whoa. And if you've ever known an alcoholic, I'm sorry if anybody out there gets some bad memories, but if you know an alcoholic, they get it's bad, and you keep telling them, hey, you got to get out of this, you got to fix this. But they don't think it's bad. They're like, oh, I can stop anytime I want. Well, they only will change once they hit rock bottom and once they realize I'm in a bad way. That's the same thing with your buyers. They're only going to do something about it if they know like they have to do something. They have to fix it. And that's the key here.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that lovely thing which I adore. I used to be a trainer of a thing called spin questioning. And the bit there is about implications. You know, when you've asked enough implication questions, you know, so sales are down, yeah, and profits are down, yeah, and you may have to sack someone, yeah, okay. When you've asked enough implication questions, what do? You ask some more. It's like, so if sales continue going down, what's going to happen next? Well, I might lose the house, and if you lose the house, then what might happen? Well, my wife might leave me, yeah, and what about your kids? Yeah, well, the kids would have to come out of private school, okay. So all we need to do to sort this out, you know, it's like, and I think salespeople are given a bad press about sort of being manipulative, because I think what you're doing is you're helping people to buy. One, secondly, people won't go to that dark place you can't make them go to that dark place unless it's something that they've been thinking about. And I think it's just, so for me, the sales process, or this piece that you're talking about here, is a questioning exploration to help them understand what's going on. Sure, there's a needs path you'd like them to go for, which may well be you. It might actually be, hey, you need to go and see a I don't know, a consultant who can help you sort this out, because this isn't my shtick. It's not something I do. But getting people, the service you're doing by actually getting people to understand the crux of the problem, because way too often people say, "Oh, the problem's the sales guy." Is it? Well, actually, the problem's really sales. Is it? Well, actually, it's people keep talking about our website and the proposition being a bit fuzzy. Well, is it? Well, actually, we don't like to commit to what we really are selling to, and it's actually let's just get to the root of the problem, because we can help you there, but we can't help you if you're only dealing with. So yeah, absolutely love it. So we've got bad neck, we've got bad shoulder, then we got the knife, twist the knife, okay, and then what do we do when we've twisted the knife?
So at that point, now you've got them in such a position that they feel like they've got to fix it. When that knife is twisting, they now realize that is a horrible pain and they need it. And that's when you can pull the knife out, when you start explaining how you solve problems. One of my clients, Greg, he's in Portugal. He came to me and he had about a 2% close rate. It was 1.9, if you can imagine, a very low close rate. We went through this process. He implemented this discovery process. He's over 33% on his close rate now with his clients. And it's such a change in his emotion, his confidence, and of course his business, just because of this discovery process that's been updated. Yeah. So it's super powerful. So that's the D. Next,
D. Perfect.
E in deal. So E is for educate. We need to educate not only across the entire, buyer journey of making sure they understand why they are doing this wrong or that wrong, whatever, but within the sales call itself, there's a lot of stuff. And obviously my stuff is to be learned over weeks and weeks. But one thing we can give now is there are 3 types of stories that buyers need to hear within your sales. 3 different types of stories. And most people tell none of them. But if you can do these, you're going to separate yourself and differentiate from all those others trying to do what you're doing. Number 1, tell a personal why. A personal why means, why are you doing what you're doing? And so many times, how many times do you get on a sales call and you're the buyer and that person just gets on and just starts rambling off about their product? You have no idea who this person is or their background or experience or knowledge on the subject. Instead, let's tell a personal why. Maybe a little bit about us personally, also what we've done in our past that's kind of led us to this point, maybe some good experiences, and why we care about helping people like this person that we're talking to. That's going to get them to connect with you. They're going to see that you have some background, you're a real person, and you care about helping people like me. That's powerful, and that's something that somebody can connect with you with. Remember, people buy from people. And so if you get on and just start rambling for 30 minutes, they're not going to really have that connection. But if you explain, like, here's why I care about help. I really have seen a lot of people struggling, and it sucks that they're hurting so badly. And so I love when we can implement a process that gets them this kind of growth, and it's this. That's my biggest joy, is to help somebody do that. That says you're a real person who wants to help and is there to care. That's amazing. So tell a personal why, 20 seconds or so, nothing big. And that's going to get them to connect with you. Number 2 is tell a company founding history. Too many times companies want to talk about themselves and they say, oh, we have this many clients and we're this big and we're the number one that and that. And guess what? Buyers don't care. There's been studies that show they don't really care. Like, it's nice that you have that and it's good and maybe it builds a little trust, but actually what they want to do is hear the founding story. Forrester did some research on this. They want to hear how the company came to be. Why did you come up with this? And so if you are the agency owner, well, you can give your personal why and the company founding. It kind of merges together. But if you're not the agency owner, you need to do both, and you need to do them separately. And the company founding might be, hey, let me tell you about our agency. There's this guy, Robert, and he was trying to solve these SEO problems. He was trying to learn it. He didn't realize this and this. And so he did a whole ton of research, talked to a whole bunch of experts, met a bunch of people, dove in, really understood it. And he realized, holy cow, this is helping me. And I think it could help other people as well. So we started talking to other people. Hey, would this information help you? Would this help you? And they loved it. And they wanted to do it as well. And so we realized, hey, there's an opportunity to help a lot of people. And that's how our agency came to be. And now we have 120 clients all throughout Europe. That is so much better than, oh, look at our big logos of these companies that work with us, because now it's a person, and you've made this brand of this agency more personal, and you now have somebody who can say, wow, I really like these people and their whole vision, and they were just like me. They had the same problem I had. They were just a little bit ahead of me.
Yeah,
that's powerful. Am I making sense at all?
This is 100% up my strasse, as they say, up my street. I love it. It's this. So for me, it's actually telling aha stories. Which is just a similar thing. Which is like you, I was lost. This happened. I had my aha moment, and then I realized why. Blah 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 blah, and that's why. So this, it's great, and it is. For me, this thing about how one is able to connect and engage, how you're able to get that route in to say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Client, you're not alone. I was there. I felt just like you. This happened, and I now realize that. And then I realized it's almost like as I said, a aha moment. Then I realized that's what needed to happen. So this is great. So 1,
good
personal story. 2, founder story. And I love the fact the founder story isn't about look at our shiny logos, because so often you go to a website. So in the UK, everyone has Barclays as a client. Everyone has Google as a client. Mm-hmm. It may well mean that they washed the cars outside Barclays Bank one day, and Google may well mean that they bought something from Google, but they're a client. So we have to be really careful, don't we, when people put these logos in front of us. So personal story, founding story, and story number 3.
Story number 3 is customer stories, relevant customer success stories. Talk about how so-and-so, who is very similar to your client or your prospect who's in front of you, had a similar problem, and then they worked with you and they got this result. That is one of the most powerful things you can do, is tell those relevant customer success stories. And when I say relevant, it needs to be relevant in terms of the size of the organization and in terms of the pain. So let's say you're talking to a small 5-person company. Don't tell them about how you helped Google. That won't have any relevance. Like, well, maybe they're too big for me. And if you're talking to Google, don't tell them how you helped the mom and pop down the street achieve amazing success. They'll be like, well, maybe you're way too small for me. It's got to be relevant customer success stories. It's got to talk about how you really understand, like, they are the same. Tell about the journey they went through and how you helped them, and then the final results. And those are some of the most powerful things you can do.
Love it. So where are we up to? I've got taking notes. You'll see. Pen.
I love it. So that was the E in deal.
Okay.
Now
so
it's
D for discover, E for educate, A for what?
Associate. So now that we've learned all about them and we understand their pain and their challenges and their goals, and we've even educated them a little bit, now we need to associate how we solve the problem to their challenge. You need to directly connect your work and the effort that you do and the results that you gain to those problems that they have. So if they're really struggling with SEO conversions, getting people to actually come to the site, or SEO growth or total growth metrics, whatever it is, you need to explain how what you do drives growth directly. If they're talking about, oh, our Facebook ads are really terrible and we have a really high, cost per click. Okay, here's how we get that cost per click low, and here's the different studies and tests that we do to make sure it happens. Whatever it is, connect your solution to their answer.
So here, you connect your solution to their answer. So here, you're actually talking features rather than benefits. You're actually going into, we use XYZ technology, which will give you ABC solution. Yeah, you're actually talking not just benefits, but you're actually talking the how you do it.
Totally great to explain how you do it, but definitely give the benefits as well. So there's something called the so what test. If you're only telling features like, oh, we have this cool tool and it does this. If you can say so what at the end of it, then you're not done. Keep going. Get to the benefit. Make sure that they feel that value. And that's when you're done with that piece of the conversation. So yes, you can tell features, but definitely share benefits as well.
Cool. Good.
So that's associate. And most people aren't doing that. A lot of times people will just have a list of a structure of their call, like, okay, let's explain everything we do. Well, the problem with that is, first of all, you've got so much time on the call and that's it. And so if you explain everything, well, stuff that they really care about, you're going to skip over and just be really quick about. And like, well, they're already on to the next thing. Okay. And other stuff that they don't care about, you're going to explain, and it's going to get them bored, and they're going to look away and lose interest, lose their attention. So absolutely focus purely on what their problems are and how you will solve that problem, how you solved that problem in the past, and they will absolutely love you. It makes such a powerful response emotionally for them when they say, wow, they really proved to me that I had a major problem, and this is the answer. Nobody else can solve it like they can. That's key. So associate. Number 4, the fourth part, L, is lead. Lead means it's not like drive leads. That's great, of course. But lead in terms of the sales process and the sales call, take the lead. Take charge. Too many times we think that, okay, whatever the buyer wants to do, let's just kind of let them do. Oh, you want to do, okay, let's go do that. They don't know what to do. They're coming to you because they need help. They're struggling. They need an expert to solve their problem. So take charge and be the expert. This is my personal trainer analogy, okay? Let's say over the holidays, we ate too many cakes and biscuits, and we got too plump. And now we need to fix that. So we want to get in shape, but we don't know exactly what to do. So we go to a personal trainer. We go over to the gym, the personal trainer, and they're like, you go in, you walk in, you say, okay, trainer, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to push that thing over there a few times, and we go squat over there a few times and go do that. No, you don't do that. Like, you go to the trainer because they're the expert. They know how to fix you and get you in shape. Same thing here. Be the expert. Don't think that they're going to come in and dictate everything that they're going to learn and do within your sales process. You need to take charge. You need to be the ones in control. And I've had clients come to me and say, well, Matt, yeah, I totally get. But I had this Fortune 500 CEO on, and it was a big deal. And he was like really type A and really pushing. So in that case, do I just no, let me ask you. How many times has that Fortune 500 CEO been through your sales process? You're like, well, one is the first time. Okay. How many times have you been through your sales process? Oh, hundreds. Who knows better how to handle that process to get them the most information?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it makes it so obvious. So take control, take the lead. It's critical.
I think for me, that's the one that just drives me bonkers, that so many times agencies just don't get that they're the professional who sell this stuff every day. They're the customer who buys this stuff once every 18 months, so they don't, they can't compare you with someone else. They don't know what good looks like. It's for you to set that out. And the line I hear myself saying all the time is, marketing isn't a battle of the product. Marketing is a battle for the mind of the customer, which is exactly what you're talking about. Because you don't know a good accountant from a bad accountant. You can't tell. But I know which accountant makes me feel good. At any one time, I only have one accountant. So I can't say, he could have saved me more tax because I only have one accountant, But if the accountant makes me feel like I'm getting a good service, it makes me feel like I'm being understood and feel like I'm being cared for, that's the one that I'm going to say I love, and it feels blindingly obvious. Which is the one that people miss out most of all those 4 letters? All of them.
All of them an answer? I mean, so many people do barely any discovery, like one question. Like, how many times has somebody said, hey, so what are you trying to sell? Oh, we need Facebook ads. Okay, let me tell you about all the things we do for Facebook ads. Like, why do you need ads? Are you sure that that's what you need? Have you tried it before? What have you done before? What were the results before? Like, what have you tried else? What are you trying to get to? What are you trying to solve? Like, all of those things should be asked instead of just, let me just tell you what we do for ads. Because right now you have no idea what they're trying to do. So the answer is all of them. And going back to take the lead, it's important, especially for agencies, even after the sale, once they start with you. There's a Mad Men clip with Don Draper, for anybody who's seen Mad Men, if you're an agency. You absolutely should start watching Mad Men if you haven't. And he presents, a campaign that they're going to do to their client. They're already the client, but he presents the campaign like, here's how we're going to do it. And the client goes, no, well, what? I don't like this, and that's not good. We don't. This isn't the way we want it. We want it this. We want this. And Don Draper, the ad exec, stands up and says, okay, thank you very much. Bye. And leaves, leaves the room. And like, wait, where are you going? They're like, well, we are the experts. Like, we put a lot of research into figuring out exactly how this should be. And you guys come in changing it. You have no idea what you're doing. And they're like, well, but you're like, yeah, if you want to do it that way, good, go do it. But if you want to work with us, this is how it's got to be. And it's a very extreme example. And obviously Hollywood changes, what real life should be, but it's the same idea. You're the expert. Do the thing. How many times have you created a campaign? The client's like, no, do this. And you're like, well, that's not the right thing. Well, I'll just let them do it. They're the client. Well, guess what? They're paying you so that you can give them the expert advice and you can share with them why what you're doing is important. So continue that lead all the way through the relationship.
So reading between the lines, one of your messages is to stand up and be proud of who you are and to take on that thought leader expert role, not to, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't, if you possibly got a bit of time, it'd be really nice if you could work with us.
Like Oliver Twist. Yeah. More, please.
Yeah, exactly. Please,
yeah.
Can I have some more?
Yeah.
But to actually own the room. But you're the one who does sales calls all the time. So it makes absolutely blinding sense that you should be controlling the conversation. Otherwise, the client's going to say, oh, over here, oh, over there, and you've lost control of the conversation.
Exactly. One of my clients, John, he's in Denmark. He had a real struggle with this. He said, but I want to be a gentleman. I want to be nice. I don't want to be mean. And it's not about being mean. It's just about being in charge and making sure you're helping them in the best possible way. And the best possible way for you to help them excuse me, is for you to take charge and show them how best they're going to be helped. And so John, to his credit, worked hard on this, and it was tough for him, but he fixed it. He started taking the lead more, and he grew from a 25% close rate to a 53% close rate on his sales calls. Super awesome to see, just because he fixed that aspect of it.
Brilliant. That's super valuable, and it's really nicely explained as well. And my brain is, while I'm talking, my brain is sort of joining the bits of it up, because it's real process. DEAL, is there a proportion? Is it sort of 40 30 30 20 or 20 30 40 30, or is it just how you feel and how the conversation feels?
No, there is some structure to it. So discovery usually should take about 10 to 15 minutes. Most people spend less than 1 minute on it. So most people don't do nearly enough discovery. But like we talked about before, dive in. The educate piece is a little bit shorter. That's maybe 3 minutes or so. And that's kind of sometimes more scattered around the call. Now, as associate, where you're explaining what you do and how you do it, that could be 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how much you do and all the different pieces to it. Yeah. So there's some variability there. And then the lead, that just happens throughout the entire call. It's not really one particular piece. But that's how you can kind of structure call anywhere from a 20 to 45-minute call.
I love that.
We're closing 83% of our calls right now.
Say that again?
We're closing 83% of our calls, so it's possible.
And presumably that 83% is partially determined by the quality of the positioning statement and the landing page, and so in other words, if they were pants, you'd expect everything else to not work. So it's having that tight positioning, what you stand for, and so on.
Very true. And on those landing pages, and while they're booking, it's saying this is who this is for. So we're weeding out anybody who might not be a fit and is not the right ICP for us. So right away, we're getting the right people on. That's another thing which I just always, I can recognize a target client from like 100 yards, from the shoes, the watch, the hair, the t-shirt, giveaway t-shirt, but even 10 people wearing t-shirts, I'll go, he or she looks like the one. And that you can almost smell it. I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous. And obviously it's not about their
sociographic, it's about their psychographic, so it's about their attitude and their approach, and do they relate to us, and so on.
Love
And
that.
and just moving on very swiftly from that, we run a conference, and there's something about it's all our clients or our potential clients, and you look around the room, and it's really quite emotional because there's all a look, and I can't explain what the look is, but they're all a type of person. The only way I can describe it is, my motto is, we wouldn't work with someone I wouldn't we wouldn't work with someone I wouldn't allow to babysit the kids. So I have this sort of like you've got to jump above that bar, and you look around the room and you go, I really like these people. This is our tribe. But there's something about them. So that ICP thing is just so important to get right, and then everything becomes easier. Wow.
Agreed.
My head is a little bit shaken by this, but it's been great. As we draw to the close, because we don't have unlimited time, I'm afraid. 2 questions actually. I said before we went on the call I'd ask you one, but I'm going to ask you 2. In these wonderfully volatile, uncertain times where the rate of change is going faster than we can scroll down a sheet, I was wondering what you thought the agency of the future looked like, whether it was hyper-focused or hyper-broad or totally AI-driven or what. So that's question number 1. I'll give you question number 2 as well so you can think about it. And question number 2 is, what are the things you hear yourself saying to agency owners so often you wish you were given $1 for every time you said it? So how do you see the future, the agency of the future?
I've never really been considered a futurist, but I'll take my crack at it. So I would say being really hyper focused, and agencies that are really niche down, care about specific things. Like we said, when we're looking at an ICP, the best you can get that really kind of isolated. Those exact people, like you said, Robert, your tribe is really critical. And I see the best agencies really focused on one pure area or one pure segment of an industry and really nailing solving their problems. And I do see agencies kind of branching out and doing a bit more than just one thing, like, oh, we're an SEO agency, but actually solving a few more things, especially with the capabilities of white label services. You can sell a bunch of different things to one client, even though you don't have to service that. I see them niching down, but also being very broad in terms of the services they can provide. We'll have to go back and look at this in 10 years and see if I was right, but we'll see.
We'll be back.
Yeah. And also, what do I tell my clients all the time? Well, when they say, Matt, just what can I do to fix my sales? I say, help, don't sell. If you're helping and focused around thinking about what you can do to get them better and solving their problems, they're going to want to work with you. You won't have to sell. Help, don't sell.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. On that note, perfect note to finish on. Thank you so much, Matt, for your time. Thank you so much for being so generous, sharing what I call an ology, your 4-step process, which, as I say, I've got written down, copious notes.
Awesome.
And it feels like we may well have to do a part 2 of this because it's been really great. But on that note, just thank you very much, and you've been a real gentleman. Thank you very much. We really enjoyed working with you.
It's been awesome, Robert. Thanks for having me.